Okay, tiada Zujin, tiada Povius, Assassin full ban, I think belah kanan. Sudah record, Voti belum tutup.
In the hands of King Kong.
Okay, sudah tutup.
They also have to get rid of the box here. They need to open up a couple more mid picks here, and then we'll see what the response is. Because so far, the underperforming heroes that we've seen from King Kong also include the Frederick.
Yeah, ONIC PH are actually the ones to ban out the Baksha. Could be setting up for a Uranus rush pick, but then Uranus priority has also went completely down ever since the group stages.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the last day since yesterday, we didn't even see it picked or banned, did we? It's only these two teams are the one. Only ONIC PH has been the one to ban it so far in knockout. They don't ban it this time.
Punyalah lama kita kena sidai aku buka Voti. Lepas tu kau nak cakap kat aku kau tak sempat Voti. What do you mean? Ooh. What do you mean? Okay, Fanny masih open lah.
ONIC PH are now going into the first.
TS tidak goy ah dengan Fanny guys.
Nothing to rush into EXP. Gold, nothing to rush. Oh, they can rush the 1-1, but then it might end up becoming the same story if you can't build around it well.
The mid lane is a possibility. I think with the
Kalia pun tak ada.
to rush it, there are still some utility junglers out there that can put on the front side, the Fredrin, things like that. I almost feel like if they wanted to go the famous last game of Fredrin,
1-1 first pick. Sekali lagi ya, walaupun Kalia tak ada.
Do they just pick up the Phobius again?
Dah record.
And Phobius Jushin just back to back. It's comfort for them.
Yeah, Phobius Jushin or I feel like Phobius Farsa could be good alternatives as well. But they go for the CC for Kid Bomba.
Cece, Parsa.
And of course CC over Phobius.
Parsa doh.
Dude, that's crazy.
Wih, dia tahan mulut baik, tak nak bagi orang dengar.
The fact that Kid Bomba has the paper in front of his mouth just to try and so just
Anjas.
so that they don't read, the opponents don't read what he is saying.
Maybe it's loud in there.
Aduh.
On the side of the table that's closest to the side of ONIC, because right with how it's set up, see, it's very close to where Kirk is.
Right? It's so wild. It's so wild. Wow. Okay. No, wait. Huh?
With the Phobius?
Why?
Roam Arlot?
Why?
But yeah, it was show both. This is Gideon hates this for the viewers that don't know. His skin's crawling right now.
Arlot dah.
Mainly because the question is why.
Arlot Rom.
Strong synergy.
Kuat awal menunjukkan Rom dari ESP.
I mean, it reveals exactly what you want to do, unless we are seeing CC go into the gold lane, which I don't think is likely at all in this particular case. So I don't value it as much.
And there's also a low percentage that Arlot's going to get banned in second phase. Like you can honestly pick that up at any point after you've gotten the CC, or you could just pick it up front. But hey, Team Spirit's up a game right now, so
Fredrin Lele.
Selena on the side on the PH. So there's the Fredrin that I was talking about to put in front of the 1-1.
Okay.
I think it's clean overall.
Lele boleh main-main dengan Arlot. Immediate Akai ya.
So there's three
Akai jungle.
boys.
Yeah, so I really like, okay, the Arlot, I feel like that's them trying to avoid that Arlot Fredrin combo. Something that has done incredibly well at MSC, yes. I'm a bit 50-50 on it, but let's look at where ONIC PH draft is. So they pick up the Fredrin still, okay. They pick up the Selena, still going up against the Akai, Arlot, CC. This Selena might have been a little bit, trying to say this, premature in being showed. I feel like a different mid laner could have come in.
I suppose.
Akito. Masha still open though.
So weird to me, right? Okay, so yes, I agree that the Arlen as well as Akai is a pretty decent combo, and I think the Akai is a good response to the Fredrin. The blind pick Selena, the blind pick Arlet as well. I feel like these teams are thinking a little too far ahead when I don't think it's necessary, right? Yes, you have some nice synergies to actually work with, and I think that TS is reading into this a little bit by getting rid of the Paquito, because they want to make sure that this CC is going to basically go untouched and has that winning lane almost no matter what we see from the side of ONIC PH. And I think the only other option is just to play either A, sandbag heroes, or Benedetta, just to not interact with their opponent, because there's a severe lack of damage from the side of ONIC PH for now.
Badang is the ban for Team Spirit. They take away
No Badang.
Brusco pick. They take away Paquito, also thinking, I think this also reinforces the both two teams.
Glue ada untuk Giri guys.
Thinking too far ahead as they are considering the possibility of that ending up in the hands of Kirk. Now the Kimmy is the last ban there for ONIC.
Yeah, so I don't think they go for like a Farza on the mid on Team Spirit. There's way too many answers to it. They need some sort of mid lane though. Moskov does get picked up back over to ONIC PH. Still needing a roam and an EXP. Do they go for the glue this time? With Madongon, Gatot also still open. Could be a possibility for them, I think.
I think the glue might lose in terms of map presence against the CC.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know, but I feel like as
Sakit sikit
Team
lah.
Spirit shows their draft one hand out to say, hey, we could be punished, they already have the answer in the other hand. So it really is dependent on ONIC to
Benedetta, let's go.
poison onto where they want to have the weak side to be. And I don't think it's going to be from Calrus. I think he's going to be totally fine. The real question is, are we going to get, once again, a disengage mechanic from
Lapu Edit. Never say no to Edit.
Roam, Lapu, EXP, Valentina in the mid.
Valentina.
Draft and that Valentine.
Oh, tapi Edit. Never mind.
Was so
Never mind.
expected already by the side of Team Spirit with how fast they picked it. They knew
Tapi
that
jarang, lately dah jarang yang kalau match up Valen Edit ni tapi dorang bawa talent yang macam Edit main. Tapi kita tengok Sunset Lover bawa apa. Kalau dia bawa Warcry, dia bawa first talent at SP, then okay lah.
It just seems both drafts seem unnecessarily hard.
I agree, and I think that this time around, whoever their scrim partners are, it's kind of whack. I gotta give it to TS. I think their comp is significantly better.
All right, let's see what Brigadier Nice think about the drafts heading into game number 2.
Thank you so much to the panel. Once again, welcome to the desk. Here it's me, Nice, and Brigida. Yeah, we were scratching our heads too. You know, this is a very interesting draft.
Betul. Valentina actually very good pick tu. Banyak tu benda dia boleh ni.
Want to see some of these variations
Boleh ambil Edit, boleh ambil Lapu dan easy
so
access.
far today. Now, mix it up a little bit more. It was very honest from TS early on in the draft. They had some things picked up. The Valentina, we don't even see that much. But over on the other side, we have seen ONIC Philippines Brigida play a similar lineup, you know, even in our own region there. But we do know, hey, Super Prince loves this Selena. Maybe they can make this work.
Tapi Valennya tak bawa Warcry ah.
Selena and the Eden paired up together in the mid.
In the current meta, at least. But
Uish,
in the bottom
sakit
lane,
sial.
very, very close to finding a kill towards Hiko. But going back to what you mentioned, I agree. This isn't the first time we've seen ONIC PH decide to go for a lineup that maybe a bit mechanically
Tinggal, Mak.
demanding. Okay, so to answer our question, it does not matter. Apparently, for ONIC PH. Because even way back, you mentioned it. They've been
Oh
going
no.
for Selena,
Woi.
Eden, Selena.
Woi. Kalah semua tempat bagi wah. ESP je lah.
People saw the draft and were like, yeah,
ESP je lah sekarang ni.
well, when you're landing the skill shots, when you're throwing people into the air,
1 point.
1v1,
1 point. Tanda simpati ke?
early on, you got a nice lead there for both. But
Aduh.
again, a lot of people that have been watching ONIC Philippines for some time know
Dah kena lagi tu. Sakit. Member baru je datang. Dia dah habis dah. Ini ada flicker tak?
teams
Ini ada flicker tau.
ban out the Selena eventually against ONIC Philippines. Now, this might be one of the games where we see that happen.
It's just so hard to move around if your team spirit.
Itu hyper ya. Kena lagi.
Only one person with a purify, and
It's like
that's
100% right now.
so far all of the missile arrows they're likely to land.
No lele no party ke guys?
Guarantee that you can just follow up with the
Bakal kah? Dah boleh lah game 3 ni. Reset.
missile arrow, especially from a distance.
Let's go BO3.
Longer stun duration, and so far we've been seeing ONIC PH take full control of the early stages of the
Game 3, let's go.
That Super Prince is able
Hei, kena lagi. Allah.
another abyssal arrow.
Nasib baiklah arrow-nya tu tak ada ikan dok.
Dealt with a lot of pressure.
Aduh, yelah.
The advantage earlier on. We'll take a look here. Who gets the crab? Okay.
Oh, bye-bye.
I see
Pecah ni.
1v1 now with Hiko.
Bye-bye.
I'm surprised Hiko put himself in that position. That he
Demi
is
seketol kerap.
level 4 and
Kena,
now
kena.
they're trouble in the mid.
Now he's 2 levels
Tidur kah? Tidur.
to follow Sawo and Sunset.
Sudah lah guys.
Have to do their best to keep
Jangan buang masa aku doh. Let's game je.
ONIC PH. There's this
Wow.
coming in towards
Panjas.
and they find the kill. Keith Bomba doesn't make it as well, but at least Team Spirit somehow finds some answers.
Sunset Lover is like, if you can do it, Brusco.
Tandori memanggil bro. Don't waste my time.
He himself with the IMU. And that might be the case. You know, one of the things is just picking the right ultimate. Now, for the most part, that's most likely going to be Brusco on the Edith.
Yep.
He should be able to utilize that, but I think the most difficult part here for Team Spirit really is just kind of playing the dodge game. Like, you have to dodge a lot of these shots that are coming out from ONIC Philippines. You have to be very aware even when the flickers are available, because not only can Brusco make those plays and then
Mengganggu lah, babi.
that Primal Wrath later on, but also for Kirk, we've seen this time and time now that Lapu Lapu has become more of a
Ya, Lapu surprisingly tak kalah lane ah.
and interestingly enough too, there's Brusco.
Flicker set up, but the flicker final slash as well to answer right back. Super
Oh no.
first casualty in this team fight with heavy spin. It seems like they're trying to pin down and force
Tak mati bodoh ini je.
away from the fight. Kirk still doing a great job on the Lapu Lapu.
Oh, dapat tu. Fred.
A kill towards Sawo.
Ah.
The energy eruption to
Ada ulti ke? Mana ada ulti? Ya, ada ulti tu.
once again. Brusco will try his
Boom! Terbelah dua, Mat. Terus dapat totoy pula tu.
finds a double.
Paduan datang mid.
King Kong and Kirk, a little different on the KK connection, making it work. This
Dapat lagi kat 1-1 bro crabnya. Aduh, parah.
for both of them. We're gonna take a look at the instant replay here. Where the
Punyalah lama moskopnya ketuk.
This is what I was gonna say. Brusco rolling on this Eden starts this fight out. You know,
Akhirnya tak dapat split apa-apa
follow
tu.
that Spear Destruction, but this was a great kind of
Tak dapat split siapa-siapa.
we see them go back and forth for this, clear things up, and even win this fight into winning the objective. Great choice here for them to go ahead and secure this and lock that in.
I know we might have just pointed out the entire conversation about damage and the lack of not in the panel earlier, but it seems like the sustain actually worked wonders for ONIC PH during that team fight, because they were able to stay in the fight long enough, especially King Kong and Kirk. And now they go for another target. It's gonna be none other than Sawo, who won't be even able to use the vengeance to reposition, granted the amount of chain CC. So they pay a bit more attention to the gold lane, which
Parah.
has been very
Pakai golit mana 5.
so far. Hiko sitting on a 0-2, and there have been a couple of questionable decisions in terms of his micro.
This is what I'm saying. I don't know what the difference is right now. I'm sure we'll see that in just a second here. But Kelra's 2 levels above Hiko. He's been winning the lane since it started. You know, we saw that when we got into the game, that he was the one that got Hiko really low, and then he's just kind of continued to punish. And even if a Super Friendster shows up, or anyone really, Brusco as well, they put enough pressure on Hiko that he's kind of just forced off of the turret. And that's why we see that tier 1 down. So Team Spirit might want to just kind of decide, like, do we need to just let Hiko stay to himself and go ahead and farm up? And how do we play that? You know, how do we let that go?
Yeah.
Big shout out to the crowd there. They're super happy about this right now for the game 2, especially how one-sided game 1 was. You know, Team Spirit had that very decisive game 1, but it seems like ONIC
Macam kiwak je lah.
Macam
Macam gitu je pasal purify Mat. Oh kena. Moskop tak ada HP dia pergi kat tu. Dia pergi untuk mati oh. Wai! Nice try lah bro. Nice try. Nice try lelenya.
A 3-4-3 trade so far, Naisu.
Super Prince wanted to say calculated, but that was a little miscalculated. He thought he could get it. Unfortunate for them, not. But they will go ahead and get another objective, maybe 2, once that turtle's locked in here. Again, look at this difference for the gold laners.
Oh,
That's a
oh,
massive
nice
lead.
try Akai.
Not even the heavy spin could
Nice try, tak cukup laju bodoh.
continue to be a threat.
Babi one way.
Team Spirit. This is gonna be one of the most difficult parts of the game. If you just let the 1-1 snowball,
Bermain-main doh.
you have a much harder time trying
Bermain-main
to
dia.
hero, or better yet, even bursting it down, because you don't have enough damage to deal with this hero just yet, and that's only one out of the many problems you have to think about going up against ONIC PH in a team fight.
You have to think about it this way, and I know our panel mentioned it. It's like the damage for ONIC
One
Philippines
crit, ah.
would traditionally need to take some time to build up, aside from, you know, of course, Super Prince here. But they bought enough time because Kelra
Oh,
has
kena
scaled
ikat
up
pula.
so quickly in this game. But
Oh, no
this could be
threat.
a fight here.
Yeah, the curtain call was used on King Kong, and as well as
Panuannya meriang. Meninggoy.
heavily by that
Meninggoy.
Kelra taking down 2, and they just just need one last hit to take down this tier 1 in mid.
So I was saying the scaling here for Kelra happened so quickly, and part of that wasn't even the team. Again, he did this in the lane from the start against Hiko, and Hiko is continuously playing catch up. Now sitting at level 9.
I think
He's multiple thousands gold behind, and this is what Super Fritz does best on the Selena. He will just continue throwing out arrows, landing them, and being a threat.
Oi, jauh pula. Oi, tapi mati je dah bang.
The Appraisers,
Mati juga.
they were that desperate that they had to use even the heavy spin just to get away. Hiko will be trading things out for now, but there's Kurt that's up top to manage things for his team. Final stack will be committed onto him as well. We're taking a look at the top.
Relax.
Shaker doesn't land onto Hiko, and they're trying
Lele,
to run away from
kena kah?
the boys.
Kena kah?
Able to successfully block
Nope.
their path. Abyssal Arrow doesn't land. But even just Kelra standing right there, you know,
He's threat enough.
it's already enough.
He's threat enough. They don't
Valen pick okey je game ni.
right now. They're gonna lose a whole
Valen
lot
bukannya
here.
a total
So this is
complete
now
useless.
massive swing in favor of
Game ni
our
okey.
Philippines. Kelra just
Banyak
puts
benda
it
dia boleh
through
ambil.
Berserker's Fury.
Even dia nak ambil lele pun boleh.
Great position to just-
3 dia. Lele, lapu.
I don't want to see teams
ini-
contest this. I know they're around the mid. They still have Hiko up top, but it's way too late. He does throw the spear. Super Fritz hangs it to the base.
Wait,
Hiko followed through with that, so they might have tried to make a play, but it's better that they don't. So Lord is secured here now for ONIC Philippines.
Yeah.
We have to see if Team Spirit down this much gold, 7,000 gold, if they have enough in the tank to hold basically with this push in.
yeah. I feel like they wanted to do something away from the Lord.
Dah boleh senyum jambul ni. Boleh.
Less members from ONIC
7 kali golit.
things to
Minus
resolve.
10.
At least they get something out of that downtime wherein they were unable to find at least any trade away from ONIC PH. Now that they've handed over the Lord, I agree. Defending might be a huge struggle for them, considering that it's a 4K lead in the hands of Kelra in contrast to Hiko. Oh, but that's a retribution already committed by King Kong. Slows down Sao by just a bit, but at least the arrow does not land. So that's what they'll have to deal with for now. Defending and holding on to the remaining base turrets.
Trying to hold on to these holy shields, but they are going to go down up top. Lord has made its way to the bottom.
Ai, kena moskop pula bang.
Hiko, he still has the turret,
Stress.
so he will not use it just yet, but the conceal, it sounded like ONIC wanted to do something, but they
Susah sikit awal Wan nak ketuk tahu sebabkan apa? Arlot punya libas ni. Diorang kena settle Arlot ni dulu ah.
Pop, however. But they're still really trying to threaten them. Oh,
Segitu je bang buang ulti. Oi, dapat pula Arlot je bang. Parah, parah. Udah. Udahan bang, udahan.
King Bomba, both of them, they're very low. And
Udahan mas.
just to defend their base turrets. Terrified for Kirk.
3 inhibitor ke?
They
Dua
lose
lah.
2 turrets.
Okay,
So
aduh.
Team
Ya, jalan
Spirit's
mid tu kan.
still in the game, but just like we saw in game 1, they're the ones facing down a 10,000 gold lead for ONIC Philippines. And it's a massive lead.
Wih, tak habis lagi tu. Masih dekat base tu.
Has done.
Masih dekat base tu.
Just end the game if they can get a favorable setup even before this next Lord. They still have a minute to go ahead and buy some time, but TS, it just looks like they're in this position where they're not sure how this is going to go. You know, King Kong,
Oi, degas.
There's no curtain call anymore, but the heavy spin will actually be able
Kita
to
bawa balik
catch
rumah
it.
tu, Freya.
Hey, but it won't be enough. That's gonna be a kill over to Team Spirit. They just want those
Dibawa balik rumah, Mat.
the play there. I'm not sure if they were, you know, just trying to make it a forced situation, but it was clearly not part of the plan there. But it is just a kill that goes in the hands of Team Spirit. They do get some extra gold in the right hands here. But that's the thing. ONIC Philippines is so far ahead, especially in terms of map presence, map space to work with. And with a Selena, it's even more. And that's why these traps and these arrows are paying, you know, a huge value to ONIC
Kunci
Philippines.
denak tu.
But it looks like TS wants
Denak tu,
to
denak tu.
They're gonna use a conceal, but I don't think they catch anyone out.
Nice try. Ui, dia retry tu. Ui, dapat. Ah, hampir.
We're still there to get some information.
Hampir.
In with Ravens fighting
Ah, nice purify.
as well, but they don't get to set up for anyone. So Team Spirit
Dua
are
reset,
able
ah.
to walk away safely, but
Tapi
now
skill
they're
besar
ready for
kanan
more.
Akai ulti dah tak ada ya.
Lord is up.
Cincin ulti pun tak ada.
Fight for this one. It looks like TS still wants to go.
Ui, dia nak lagi tu.
The stamina, and they definitely
Dapat
will
keluar
be
dulu lapunya.
able to
Mati ke? Dapat lompat pula. Padam.
doesn't get to dodge the crossbow attack.
Weh, Valen gila.
Now ONIC PH,
Wah, kena lele pula bang. Aduh. Terpaksa lah ban lele next game
Fortunate for Team Spirit.
Terpaksa ban lele.
They got a position for that Lord take, but with one shot being caught out and then just collapsed on, they had no other choice, no other space to work around. Enough for ONIC Philippines. They might already have this one in the bag, and the Lord is making its way up top. They have the base turret in the mid to work on, but I don't even know if they're going to wait for it. Right now, they still come up. Sunset Lover less than 10 seconds away. Team Spirit should be in a full fighting force to defend this, but they have to play dance here. They have to dodge these
Mana defend ni
arrows
bang?
and get ready for this Lord.
Mana nak defend ni bang?
All set up.
Ah! Masalahnya Kelra terus tengah puri man. Bro, kau boleh puri ajar lo. Kau memang power lo. Lu memang jago bro. Aduh, tak ada wave. Tak ada minion. Tapi Moskop dah tak ada bang. Nanti dia pakai apa duk?
Do they have enough damage? They still
Wawan. Wah, pecahlah pula.
to clean it up, and that will be one more.
Pecahlah pula. Aduh, burung.
Team Spirit held on, and they took that risk.
Pecahlah pula. Don 53 orang SK. Okey ke?
Did on 8
Okey ah.
members,
Aman-aman ah.
but the reflexes were too fast.
Aman-aman ya.
To it just in time, so that resulted in wasted multiple
Aman-aman ya.
for Team Spirit before the final defense.
And that was everything that ONIC Philippines had to do. They had to get those, spells out. The
Betul, SK ni sekali je. Jangan beria, okey?
honestly, for TS to be that far.
Tak nak undi dah lepas ni. Tadi kau tekan ONIC BH tak kena.
As long as they did, even
Lepas tu game 2 kau tekan Team Spirit tak kena juga. Ada ke kat sini yang macam tu?
game two, they had some.
Ada ke kat sini yang macam tu? Game 1 dia tekan ONIC, miss.
But
Game 2 tekan TS, miss.
life and made it
Oi, aku cakap kau pergi mandi lah bang.
panel to break down.
Aku sarankan kau pergi mandi lah sebelum game 2 start bang. Pergi mandi.
Philippines reminding Team Spirit and the rest of
Terlalu busuk.
who they are. Super Friends on his signature Selena. He plays that like a mobile master.
He does, but I feel like after watching Game 1 and Game 2, all the MLBB enthusiasts after watching the previous series look at this one and they're like,
Duh.
what am I supposed to learn from this? What is happening?
I will say this, ONIC 2 games, the first game, they try to bring the aggression in the early game, they fail. Second game, they bring the aggression in the early game, and it passes. So, yes, I still don't think exactly it's the draft that we're looking at, but the gameplay itself, and is this going to be the story for the next possibly 3 games? Can Team Spirit withstand the first 2 to 4 minutes?
Yeah, again, game number 1, it was Team Spirit dominating that. Game number 2 is ONIC Philippines winning all over the map. Hiko straight up losing to Kelra in lane. 2 kills early on, that 1-1 bullied that Moskov.
What's even crazier about that, it's the same exact matchup as last game, Moscow versus 1-1. So my question is, did Hiko maybe get a little too confident after game 1? Try to push the limits? Forget who Kelra was?
I mean, the second death I think was the most evident, the level 4 into level 3. What are you doing there? Brother, man, he has a pure inbuilt purify. You hit him against the wall. Why do you continue the trade? There's just so many weird things that happened in this game, but what was clear was ONIC PH's early game, the laning phase especially, basically allowed them to do whatever they want, right? They were in the exact same position that TS was in game number 1. Pulling it into game number 2, ONIC PH draw the line in the sand. It's like, we're not going to let you walk over us like you did in game number 1. We're going to go toe-to-toe. If you want a mechanic, we'll out-mechanic you just as much.
Yeah, I appreciate this Edith pick that was part of the last set of picks here for ONIC Philippines for Brusco. And most importantly, how Brusco executed this Edith. He was checking the rotations of Kid Bomba Sawo and Sunset Lover incredibly well. There was a bit of a mishap at the center of the map around mid-game, but at that point, ONIC Philippines just had a massive lead that even though they lost, because Kelro was winning lane so hard, they could afford those little mishaps. They could afford those little slip-ups.
Yeah, Kel, we're getting so close to breaking that 1,000 gold per minute mark, but just showing that maybe Wan should stay in the ban phase. Even though you beat it in game number 1, it's still a problem. And outside from that, you mentioned the other player. I'm mentioning King Kong because I feel like the Fredrin was actually a really solid pick from you. Like the Eden, I really liked the Fredrin. I feel like it forced King Kong to stay with the team a bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas game number 1, he was getting caught off by himself too much, and he allowed the rest of his team to shine with the damage as long as he was able to peel and protect them.
Yeah, I feel like this was a little redemption game also from King Kong, who for the longest time now since last season, the community beats have been, King Kong is not that great in the tanky fighter jugglers. This game, I feel like they needed this confidence game for him. He needed a performance like this on this Fredrin to show team spirit, to show himself like, hey, I can do this too.
Don't get me wrong, I want to agree with you, but it's really, really hard when you've got a lot of contributing factors to why he was already
Aduh.
level lead.
Ini je guys. Lapar oh.
And a lot of it is because, Selena
Ini
was
je lah aku makan.
pretty much quote-unquote free lane after getting that initial solo
Oat
kill.
crunch, chunky hazelnut.
The fact that now King Kong
SMR sikit.
with the chance to make it feel like an assassin, but he's not just assassin targeted.
Yeah, it looks like we got a series here. We're not going to be getting any sweeps in this second quarterfinals matchup for the knockout phase, as now ONIC Philippines
SMR sikit, first bite, first bite.
will happen in game number 3. We'll find out after this break.
Asma makan cuap macam plastik. Terasa nak makan organ lah pula. Ajak faham marah buat tu. Lagi-lagi. Halus. Asia Paragon aku ada satu minat ke? Extra Tuama Mola. Ajak bunyi Aelio pula. Game malam ni serudo. Aelio, haha bamba kuat. Aelio, boleh tak tolong kirim sini Lega?
Dengar ke aku punya? Daripada sini.
Asia Paragon Mahana. Rino Adi yang suruh makan lollipop tu. Game 3 tekan itu. Pasok Nahi untuk kau juga. Dengar air dulu.
Tinggal 500. Itu namanya Sklishu.
Sabar geng. Cari pop launch.
Reach your impossible.
Adria yang kami tinggal 500 ni kalau all in. Reno set game lama. Jaga-jaga. Wan tu patut letak ejek. All in haste.
Tadi Team Spirit early game-nya buruk sangat tu. First 2 minute tu aku dah nampak dah pattern tu. First 2 minute memang kau tak boleh mistake tu. Itu paling crucial lah. Especially bila tim besar lawan tim besar. Sekarang top 8 kan. Kau fuck up kau punya first 2 minute. Oi. Mengah mat nak comeback.
Stop
far, this has been a series determined by how well you can execute in the first 2 to 3 minutes of the games here. Team Spirit did so excellently in game number 1, while ONIC PH clapped back hard and reminded them who they are with a near perfect execution in game number 2. And of course, individual performances from Kelra in the gold lane being able to shut down Hiko. Now, so we move on to game number 3. We, fortunately, no, not unfortunately, fortunately, still have to talk about the draft here because that does help contextualize a lot of these early game requirements that we're looking for both Team Spirit and ONIC. So, who would like to start things off? What are we expecting?
It's hard to say what we're expecting because so far from game 1 to game 2, there's been a pretty big change in the way these teams approach it and what they banned and what they pick. So I think game 3, I think we could be in for even more surprise, honestly.
All in kat belah mana tu? Info lah sikit. Ke undi rahsia?
Do they ban out Wan? Do they change the way they approach this?
Ni kenapa ni?
I'm gonna put it in layman's terms. Stop
Ni kenapa ni?
the laning phase. There's really nothing you can do.
Tak ada angin, tak ada remote.
Tremendously as we see from both of these teams in game 1 and 2. So how good your draft is, especially if you're not walking out of there to go head toe to toe against your opponents when you are on equal footing. Most of the time, based on what we've seen, the draft plays to a degree a certain part, but even then, they're going so far above and beyond that it doesn't really matter if the early game is as abysmal as that.
Yeah, going back to the draft in game number 1. Yes, that Cooper pick was a massive counter and did pose a lot of problems for King Kong's Fanny, but it wasn't just that. I think we also got to the point where we agreed that if the early game was just a little bit better from ONIC in that game number 1, it would have been a much more different story. It would have been a little bit more even, where now Team Spirit had to really calculate things. So, yeah, I think I've leaned in now to, you two have convinced me that it really is all about how sharp these two teams are in the first 2 to 3 minutes and how well they can get their early win game conditions.
And that's the thing. I feel like once they get past the, all right, we're going toe-to-toe, both sides are looking for active advantages through the draft to apply into the early game, then sure. And I think that ONIC does it a little bit better in game number 2. But coming into game number 3, right, it's not a matter of blue side, red side anymore. It really comes down to the synergies if they want to say, you know what, let's just bypass the laning phase in the first place, right? If that's what's costing us these games, we might as well, especially with ONIC PH, the one who has the gas. They've got momentum, as we saw clearly in the same matchup between Kelra against Hikomania. I think that Team Spirit need to recognize, all right, let's make mid lane obsolete, let's rotate and save his lane as fast as possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they did in the first game pretty much. They played a little reactionary, but they did it well. They waited for ONIC to come to them and then catch them off guard, respond cleanly, and instead of jumping out, trying to win the 1v1, instead of doing things like that, they were able to take the win through letting ONIC kind of bite their own head off.
Now, as we head into the draft,
Nandi Kure.
number 3, all right, we talked a lot about execution. I feel like if Team Spirit can, it's warranted to make sure
Aku
they
join
don't
lah.
end up with a 1-1 anymore.
Setakat ni apa aku tekan semua kena.
I'm actually okay if he gets the 1-1, to be fair.
I mean,
As
they
long
did
as
beat it game 1, right?
Yeah, they did beat it
game 1.
They did beat it game 1, but I think this is